Hey everyone, it's Suso, and today I have a very quick video with a small trick to use scoreboard displays on the sidebar in 1.17. Because in 1.17 we got the new core shaders that can edit some, well, basically everything that renders in the game. And the thing is, when displaying information on the sidebar, we usually get these numbers, these zeros, that depending on what you want to display, may not mean anything at all, as in many servers or even maps. You usually get those red zeros, and that doesn't help much, it's not pretty. So with the new core shaders, we can make a resource pack that essentially disables them from rendering at all. So in this case we get a clean sidebar, and we can, for example, put some text on it, and it looks, well, cleaner in general. And how this works is it's removing everything that's at a certain depth value, so it won't affect other stuff. For example, if I type in chat a wrong command, it will affect it here. You can still see the shadow, but it won't affect the chat itself, or if I had a red sign in the world, it also won't affect it. It will just affect texts in a few places that's generally not very... they are not very critical, so I wouldn't worry about them too much. And one of them is the sidebar. So in this case it's removing all of the red text there, and we can still display red text in there if we want though, by using a slightly different hex value. This one is one more on the blue channel than the normal red text, and as you can see it renders. And we can use this to do some, well, cool displays, like for example this is a display out of a map called Hard Rush by TS. And we used to, in order to do this in 1.16, we used to have to remove the number 0 from the game. So in the map Tales of Glarford, gives us a video on how the number 0, essentially the texture was removed, and some things just look off, but the sidebar is clean at least. So that is something. And we can have, for example, in Glarford, we had this clock on the side, and it represents the time of the day. And in this case, I can also, well, do with fonts and some other stuff. You can place whatever you want in here, and you can just, well, display a lot of stuff. For example, in this case, I will quickly show the functions for it. How we do it is... we have, well, first of all, the shader. The shader is just the render type text. The only thing that's different from normal here is that if the vertex distance is more than 2020, in this case is what the value I finally got, because this depends on resolution and GUI scale. With this one I saw it created the least problems with other things while always catching the sidebar. And we check for the color itself with this, well, it's just a define, doesn't do much more, a macro, and if it fits those parameters, it just discards the render, so it looks transparent and that's it. So the scoreboard is just very simple. We add a dummy objective, and here's one of the important things. I find it the easiest to just display the text not in the name of the player, but as the team prefix or suffix, so I also remove the name of the players themselves by making them red with this. It's just the format character and then C to make them red, and then whatever here won't be displayed. I just put some dummy letters, you know, and just give them a score, and it works. And here we have an example, in this case the red display I showed you before. It just uses this hex value instead of red, so it displays. And also here we had a text that you couldn't see in Minecraft. As you can see, it doesn't render that. If I remove the resource pack, it will look very off, and we will have the normal text there. So yeah, that's a thing that we can do. Yeah, this is just the team suffixes. You can also use the prefixes depending on what you want. In the heart example, I am using prefixes, yeah, because I want them to stay to the left side of the sidebar. So, you know, depending on what you want, you can do different things. And here's just a very quick thing for the clock example, because this sets the sidebar with a custom font depending on the time of the day. And I just wanted to show that the best way to do this is usually with binary search, because this way you have to do less checks. Because a problem with sidebars, of course, is that we cannot display dynamic information in them really, because theme prefixes and suffixes don't accept MBT or selectors, so we have to hardcode every single value, which isn't very fun. But if you just do a Python script that generates the code for you, you can have it be quite efficient. In this case, I have 64 possible textures, but we just have some functions that compare it to the mean value of a range, and this way we just discard half of the possible values that it could be while comparing in each iteration, and this just gives us, well, instead of executing 64 if commands, it executes like 6 of them every time it has to check, so it's more efficient. And that's about it, I think. It's just basically old tech with all of the sidebar display, but I think the way to remove the numbers makes it look much cleaner, and it's cool. We don't have to remove the number 0 anymore, so that's nice. And that's all I have for today. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in probably 2 years at this point. Who knows?